Good morning. It is 10 something in the morning and I'm getting ready to go on a run, but I figured I'd take you guys with me so that I can knock two birds out with one stone. I need to exercise and I need to film. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about things that I wish I would have known before I got my first job, things that I feel like were real gaps in my self-taught learning journey because I didn't have any other guidance. I was just going by what I know. So let's get out here, let's get outside, and I'll talk to you guys about what it is that I feel like I wish I would have known before I got my first web developer job. Okay, I didn't think this through. Let me scoot y'all up a little bit. I didn't necessarily think this through because I'm tired. I'm out of breath. I don't know how long it's going to take me to not be out of breath. And my battery is not that full. So we're just going to see how much of this we can get through really quickly. Okay, so like you guys know, if you've been following my story, I'm a self-taught web developer. I used a ton of free resources. I've used so many resources. Some I love, some I could do without. But one that you definitely have heard me talk about early on in my visuals or my videos. Sorry, my brain is in run mode. I can't think. Something that you guys have heard me talk about early on in my videos is FreeCodeCamp. And while all the resources that I've ever mentioned are amazing and I stand behind them, I do feel like, for instance, FreeCodeCamp didn't necessarily equip me with every little thing that I needed or that I felt I needed when it came to getting my first web developer job and actually being, feeling like I was successful in that role. Now, bear in mind, I took FreeCodeCamp back in like 2019, and then I kind of dabbled with it here and there, but the full course I took back in 2019. So I'm not sure just how much has changed. I don't know if some of this stuff has been implemented or if I just skipped over it back then. I don't really know, but let's just get into the things that I wish I knew when I was getting my first role. So first thing I want to talk about is version control. So this is like GitHub. Of course, this is common knowledge that you should know version control, but I don't know how common it is because I really honestly did not see this until I got my first role. And we were using actually like GitLab, but when it comes to actually knowing how to utilize the version control platform, knowing how to collaborate with other developers and engineers and implementing your code into their existing code so that it doesn't break, that is a whole thing. And that is something that I definitely did not learn on my self-taught journey before getting my job. Now, one thing that I feel like could very well help with this, if you're still on your learning journey, is to do more hackathons, figure out ways to do more projects with other people, figure out how you can collaborate with more people, and use version control to get used to implementing your code into an already existing database of code. So that was number one. The second one is something that you guys have heard me talk about a lot here lately, and that is semantics. I did not know that there was a certain way. How can I put this? I knew that you had to structure your HTML a certain way, but when it comes to the reasoning behind why you should choose certain elements over others and really getting into the deep end of semantics and how it plays a role in SEO, accessibility, and all those things, I did not get that. I didn't get that until I learned from 100 Devs. You guys know that I love 100 Devs. I didn't start taking 100 Devs though until after my second job, which was at the creative agency. So I knew about elements, I knew about HTML, of course, but when it came to actually being semantic in the semantics, I did not have a clue. So once I learned the semantics and learning more about that, I was able to better structure my HTML, which translated into structuring better CSS. I'm so sorry if I'm stumbling over my words. I'm trying to get this out before my camera dies, and I'm also kind of like down in a secluded area, so I'm trying to hurry up. But anyway, learning more about semantics, I would say go to 100 Devs. That is going to be my biggest recommendation because of the way Leon Noel structures his learnings and the way that he talks and the way that he gives you the information. I was able to grasp it really quickly. Also, something like Scrimba, which I've also talked about on this channel. So if you want to learn more about that, I actually did an HTML video. So go ahead and click the cards. I'll have it up there and in the description box below if you want to learn more about that. All right, the third thing is going to be maybe another common knowledge thing, but communicating and collaborating. This goes back to my first point. I feel like doing more hackathons or figuring out ways that you can maybe volunteer for certain companies, doing more collaborative work before you get your first job is going to be extremely, extremely valuable for you. Because what happened with me is once I got on my job, specifically my second one, I was so afraid to speak when I needed help. I didn't think that I was able to talk about needing help because I was hired for this job. I need to know it, but that's not the case. Your managers and other teammates will value you coming to them a lot more than just taking way longer than you should because you didn't want to ask a question or you felt like your question was dumb or you didn't want to, it's your imposter syndrome, really. So learning how to collaborate and communicate is going to be a huge thing. I did everything on my own outside of going to meetups and talking with other developers, asking them, their take on how they got into the industry and asking them to kind of look at my code. I never really actually worked on a project with anyone leading up to my first job. So everything I did was solo. Learn how to collaborate, and then that'll teach you in turn how to have better communication, in my opinion. So the fourth thing is going to be better research. So again, I feel like my disclaimer for this whole video should be, duh, you should know these things. But again, these are things that I didn't necessarily pay attention to or know at all because I was doing everything on my own. I didn't go to boot camp or college. So these are things I just learned along the way. But better research. You're going to hear the running joke that a good developer, an engineer is someone who knows how to Google. So now we have ChatGPT and all those things. Those things didn't exist when I was first learning how to code or getting into my first developer roles. My second job, ChatGPT had just come out, I think, a month before I left there. I don't know. It was like very, very, very new when I left my second job. So learning how to better research. Now there's no excuse because, like I said, you have things like ChatGPT and other tools that you can utilize that'll give you a little bit more of a faster turnaround on your answers if you know how to ask the question. So you still want to know how to code because you still need to know how to frame the question, in my opinion. So, we can get into that deeply at another time, that whole AI thing, but learning how to become a better researcher and knowing that it's okay that you don't know everything. Knowing that like I said in the last point, that it's okay to ask for help if you don't know something, and also knowing that you don't have to memorize everything because that's impossible. And it's impossible to know everything because things change so fast and there's too much to learn. So don't feel like you have to memorize everything, which is something that I definitely have struggled with up until recently, honestly. And knowing that, like I said, you can ask questions, but knowing how to research and do enough research before you just go ask someone without doing your due diligence to find the answer yourself. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, this next one is something that I definitely just started doing not too long ago, which is trying to find better ways to think like a programmer. So you have to think like a programmer. You have to put yourself really intentionally into the computer's mindset. Like, how can I get this computer to understand what it is that I needed to do step by step? One thing that I learned recently, and what I say is like, it just recently started to happen for me, is pseudocode. I was not utilizing pseudocode at either one of my jobs. Pseudocode is something that I learned about through 100 Devs. 100 Devs, Willie Noel, you guys hear me talk about that all the time. I love it. Going to continue to talk about it. Again, not sponsored, not affiliated in any way. Just, it's a really, truly good resource for it to be 100% free. It's like, I don't understand. So pseudocode is going to help you with breaking down the code into chunks and taking it step by step so that you're not thinking of the overall solution at one time. Oh my gosh, this wind. I'm so sorry, guys. I did not come prepared, you guys. I didn't bring my external battery or my windscreen. So trying to get through this. But thinking like a programmer is going to help you better talk to a computer. The computer doesn't understand what we're saying like this. That's why we have code. So pseudocode is going to allow you to take the problem and break it down into chunks and better basically write out your code in plain English or any language that you speak before you get to the code writing. And it kind of helps you better chunk, in my opinion, from what I experienced, better chunk the solution of the problem instead of thinking of the overall solution to the problem, getting overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. You kind of have the pseudocode and you take each line. So, you think about what your program needs to do, write the steps that you think you need to get to take there, and then write the code that better associates with each step, if that makes sense. If you don't know about pseudocode, like I said, these are things that you can look up, but pseudocode is going to help you think like a programmer better, in my opinion. Also, there's a book called Think Like a Programmer that I also link below. I have it. I haven't read all the way through it, but it is a great recommendation for things like this. Also, I found a good way to practice this is by doing code wars, so you can do whatever level you're on. I think you need to start, if you're a beginner like JavaScript or anything, you want to start at a level 8 because it actually goes backwards. You would think you would start at level 1, but you actually start from 8 and go back down to 1. But pseudocode is very helpful with code wars because you'll get the problem and you just write out your pseudocode before you find the solution, unless you already know the solution. But I would use that to practice. So another thing that you can do for pseudocode practice outside of code wars and 100 devs is going to be Harvard CS50. It's another 100% free learning resource. I'll have it linked as well in the description below. But CS50 teaches you early on in the program how to kind of get acclimated with pseudocode. I'm not even sure if he actually mentions that as pseudocode, but once you see what he's doing and the instructional thing that he's doing for the actual lesson, you'll realize that it's pseudocode. So he's teaching you that you have to learn how to talk to the computer in a way that a computer can understand. So 100 devs, Harvard CS50, and then I'll link Think Like a Programmer down below. Sorry, I keep looking around. There was this guy that was sitting right here. He decided to sit like right next to me, and he was sitting here the whole time, and then he kind of like acted like he was going to go the other way. Then he looked at me and came this way, so I was just trying to make sure. All right, number 6 is going to be wireframing. Now, when I say wireframing, I mean in the sense of taking your design. Let me backtrack. When I would get designs from the designers in my jobs, I would just go in, look at the design, and start coding. I would just jump right into it. So no pseudocode, no wireframing on my own, which I'm going to explain in just a second. I would just straight look at the XD file or the Photoshop or whatever they gave me, Figma, and I would just start coding out what I thought made sense for the actual project. Where I messed up is taking that overall design, not doing pseudocode, and also not chunking the code by section. I would just try to just go all the way through with the HTML, then go through and do all the CSS. What I found works best for me, I want to stress that this worked best for me, was to do another sort of wireframing. So when we think of wireframing, or when I think of wireframing, I'm thinking in terms of I'm wireframing this whole entire thing from the very beginning. What I mean by wireframing in this sense is taking the design and further drawing. So I've kind of showed you guys this, and if I find clips of this in my other videos, I'll put it up. But what it is essentially is you print out the design, or if you have an iPad, which is what I usually do, you take your iPad or your drawing and take the pencil and you literally trace over, or you like start to draw on the actual design. So you may have a nav bar. I would draw a square around that nav bar and literally branch out everything that I need to do. So I know that I need to have an A tag, or I might have a button up there, and then I get down to the hero section, there might be some text that I want it to be like the header 1, so I'll draw a box around that and literally write H1. So then when it comes time to actually code this project, I can actually go in and say, okay, I already said that this element was going to be a H1, not a H2 or anything like that. And you just go through your document like that. You basically write on the document what you want each element to be ahead of time, so you're not wasting time trying to figure out like what should this element be. So literally down to the P tags, like you have a block of text that's a paragraph, write a P on it so you know it's a paragraph tag. Hopefully this is making sense. Like I said, if I find an example, I'll try to put it up on the screen some kind of way. But yeah, doing my version of wireframing, again, something that I learned from 100 devs. Once I started doing that, I swear to you, it was like a game changer, because it kind of took the stress off of me while I was doing it, because it's almost like you're mapping and planning it out ahead of time. And then also taking it in chunks. So I, like I said, would do all the HTML at once and then try to go over to the CSS. I've tried to practice here lately, just taking it section by section. So I'll do the nav bar, do the HTML for it only, then go straight to the CSS and do my CSS. Now that's done. Then I go to the hero section, do my HTML for that, do the CSS. Now that's done. And I take it down the page instead of doing it all at one time, if that makes sense. So doing your wireframing and planning basically before you start to code. So I guess these two last points kind of piggyback off of each other. The last thing, and this is just like an overall tip in general, mindset. Your mindset is going to shape this entire thing. That's from the time you start coding till you get your big job, till you get into your 20th year of coding. Everything is mindset. If you go in defeating yourself before you even get there, you've already failed. I hate to use that word, but let's just be blunt about it. You've already defeated yourself. If you go in saying that you can't do something, you've already messed up. So I would do this, and I still catch myself doing this, but it's all about mindset. So I said this before in one of my other videos. The days that I went into my job saying, oh my gosh, I have to do this stuff and I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do it. I really don't know about the technology yet. I don't want to have to look stupid, imposter syndrome, all this stuff. I would struggle the whole day. I would have the worst anxiety. Just everything just did not go according to plan. The days that, even though I knew there might be struggles and I wasn't going to understand things, but I said in my head before going to the work or the job, I'm going to have the best day. This is going to be the best coding day ever. I'm going to knock everything out the park. Even if I didn't get everything done that day, I felt so much better. I felt peace. I felt calmness. I felt just, okay, whatever doesn't get done, and that's just life. If I don't know how to do something, cool, ask. Keep it moving. It's mindset. So learning how to deal with your mindset first is going to help you so much along the way in every stage of this journey. So for me, it's been a lot about placing my energy in the right place and not getting so worked up that I'm just overwhelmed and it's just hard to do anything at all. And I'm just so distracted and I'm not placing my energy in the right place where it needs to be placed to find a solution to the problem, and not worried about how I just don't know a solution. It's like, okay, you don't know a solution, but how can you figure it out? Because remember, if you leave this video with anything, remember that everything is figure outable. Anything that you want to know in 2025 is pretty much on the internet. So there have been so many developers and engineers that have come before us and have already done this work. We are not really reinventing any wheels right now. So just remember that, and remember to bring your windscreen before you film. So remember that you got this, and I say this in all my videos because I truly mean it. I'm not trying to be like cliche or corny or anything. I truly believe, like, if somebody like me can code, here we go being cliche after I said I'm not trying to be. If somebody like me can learn how to code, you can too. Let's just put it out there. If I can learn how to do JavaScript, you can too, because it's not easy, and I've always struggled with academics. I did not get good grades in high school. I was not the smartest person in school. I didn't know that I could learn certain things until I started learning how to code, and now I feel like I can learn anything. If I want to learn it, I'm going to learn it. So everything is figure outable. Figure out what you might be missing right now, or if you're at the beginning of your journey and you're self-taught and you're going on this journey alone, figure out ways that you can connect with other people. I personally am not the most extroverted person. I'm not truly 100% introverted, but I do lean more towards that side. But I know a lot of people who watch my videos are probably very introverted, but you have to break out of that, to be honest. For one, to network, and for two, to, like I said, get this collaboration under your belt and learn how to communicate. And then you never know who you'll meet and what information they can give you and what tips and tricks that they can give you, or if you are going to meet your next mentor. So I know this was really quick. I know I felt like I was like rushing my talking, but I really wanted to get this out before my camera died, and so I can get out of this nook that I'm in because I'm like down below. Nobody can see me down here. So I hope that you took something from this video. I hope that it helped. I hope that you found something that maybe you just realized, like, oh shoot, like the resource that I'm using doesn't really teach this, and that I've given you some resources in this video and in the description box below that can help with that. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I love you guys, you know that, and I will see you in the next one. It is so pretty down here. This is our river and it is so peaceful. I don't know, I might try to start coming down here more often. I got here before the birds woke up. Like, I literally, when I first walked down here, all the birds were still tucked into themselves sleep. It was so cute. Oh look, hold on. Okay, I didn't change the exposure on this thing, and I don't know where it was, but look, they're still asleep. This is what I was talking about. Okay, but I'm not going to get too close because, like I was saying, I'm afraid of, like, not really those ducks, but the geese I'm definitely afraid of, because when my oldest was born, I took her to the mall, and it was my parents and we took her to the mall, and we went to the door, and there was like a mom goose, and she had her babies. So I get it, but I was nowhere near her. She could have left me alone. Look, they're squawking and squeaking up there. I do not like them. But anyway, I understand that, you know, she's a mom, she's protecting her babies, but I was literally minding my business with my baby and not even anywhere near her. And the thing gonna chase me into the mall. Like, this man had to come out of nowhere because my parents were still by their car, so they didn't get up there fast enough. But this little thing then chased me into the mall with my baby, and I'm minding my business, and this random man just came out of nowhere and like scared it away because it was literally chasing me into the mall. So ever since then, I don't mess with him. But y'all, let me get off of here. I'm on my way back home.